Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the CW Clinic. My name is Chris. I'm your host. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is not your first time joining us, what's going on? My fair warning to everybody, every show is I'm black and white. I'm straight to the point. Your feelings are not my responsibility. If I offend you, good, okay? Because if you can be offended, that means you could be moved. And if you could be moved, you can learn, all right? I understand your perspective if I do offend you, all right? I don't mean to get to you personally. However, I want to be able to get through to you and teach you. And that is why we are here. And I know the majority of everyone listening has been listening for quite some time, is aware of how I speak. And, and I'm just grateful for everyone. And I want you guys to know that I have a very special guest on today. And before I get to that, let me reiterate how grateful I am for everyone. All right, guys, it's because of everyone listening and all of the feedback and all of the shares and all of the comments and all of the love is honestly why I do this. Just having an impact and being told that I'm helping people's lives, and it's just through voice recording. And my podcast is something that is remarkable and extraordinarily fulfilling. My skin is tightening right now. I'm so grateful. So, guys, I just want you to know that. That's to everybody. And for those of you that don't know, my name's Chris. I've owned 5 businesses. I've done multi-million dollars in revenues at an average price point of about $100. I now have 4 companies, and my mission here is to help you save time and money through my mistakes. This is a self-development based show. I'm here to teach you. Do know that I am wrong, but if you can handle it, you can learn. And if you can learn, you can advance. The show is brought to you by my mentoring and business consulting company, Warrior Consulting, helping you plan, build, and scale your life with business and purpose. Interestingly enough, we're actually going to talk about that today, the P word. And the great thing about purpose is I think it's this topic that should be discussed far more often than it is, specifically amongst individuals who do not understand their purpose. And I could be wrong, but not only myself, but my guest, which I'm going to be introducing shortly, our purpose is very similar. I would call myself a teacher, and I would also call him a teacher. Now, we have different approaches to a degree, and my guest has been in it for quite some time and has extraordinarily successful, especially in the fitness industry, but he's not limited to the fitness industry. He's like me in the sense that we're an onion. There's lots of fucking layers to us, and we're not just fitness guys. He's also a published author, amongst many other things, to include a business coach, a mentor, and he's been the top fitness consultant in the industry since 1977. And I once heard him say that when he got started, there was lots of other consultants in the fitness industry. Fast forward to 2020, none of them are still around. If you can do good business for that fucking long, I commend you, because business is cutthroat. And without further ado, my personal mentor, someone who helped me through some of the most difficult decisions that I've made as of 2020, someone that I look to, that helps me, always is there, Tom Plummer. What's going on, Tom?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me on today. Great lead-in, man. I consider this just kick back, get a glass of wine, kind of roll through the lane. Yeah, I like it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I had several glasses last night. Did you have any wine last night?
Yes, I did. It's 2020. That's how you get through the day sometimes.
Certainly so. Certainly so. And was that introduction okay? Did I say it right?
Yeah, I've been started out in 77, been in the business aspect of it since 80, and Yeah, it's been a long journey, been very interesting. A lot of changes. I've never been outside the industry in that entire time. Somehow connected. I was trained as a business consultant. That was my original coaching, but I've specialized in the fitness industry. But as you know, I still do coaching in other fields, so to speak, and kind of some related to fitness, a lot of them not. So it's, once you get the skills of a business coach, I fix things, I fix problems. That's probably the best way to look at my job. People are like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, well, I kind of speak, I kind of write, I kind of consult, but I just tell them the short version is if you got a problem and your business is broken, I probably am the guy that can help you fix it. So that's I kind of like if you think in those terms. The same thing with people. A lot of people have problems they can't solve, so they find me to find guys like me that help them kind of put their own lives back together beyond their business. So that's how the personal coaching kind of evolved as well.
Yeah. And I may have said it wrong. When I said that you're in other industries, I meant like as a published author and having 10 books. I would look at that as a different industry. However, there's also like the silver lining, right? Because it's published books in the fitness industry, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I've worked with, in the past years, financial service companies, consulting, Titleist and Reebok were clients for a while. Worked with just, big chains, small chains, individuals. So once you start to work with that, I've worked with architectural firms in the past, restaurants, all kinds of stuff. Once you start to see the business and see how businesses work, the ability to fix them and help them evolve it becomes almost a universal skill. Now, sometimes I don't know the exact numbers, but the systems and how people work and how they should fix things is pretty universal.
And this is me. I've only been in business for 13 years, right? So, speaking to someone who's been doing it for over 40 years, there's a huge difference here, guys. But something that, and I should say, however, something that I've noticed as a young business coach is the majority of the issues, if not all of them, start with the individual, start with the owner, right? And I think personally, when you're able to like accept fault, especially as a business owner, it could really, really, really open up a lot of doors, not only in business, but in life. I don't know if you would agree with the statement.
I think the funniest thing about business, when you look at it individual level, is I don't think a lot of people know what they're trying to do. It's what is this business going to do for me? And the universal comeback is always make more money. I want to make money, but they can't even define that. There's a point where you get 25 years ago, I would have given you these complicated, crazy, out of business book answers. It's just all that, all the stuff from Jim Collins to all these other, I would have quoted somebody, some master or something. And you get to a point where you've been in business so long, you look at things and you kind of go, it really is simple. And when I'm looking at the guy and his business isn't working, I go, what do you want to have happen here? Well, I want it to work. Well, what do you mean by work? What do they can't define what a successful business looks like. They can't define why they're in business. They can't define what it takes to be in business. They don't know the skill sets that it takes to run a successful. In most cases, the guys that you probably listen to, a lot of small business guys, they don't know what they're trying to accomplish. So they're always scrambling because they have no idea what they're trying to get done on a day-to-day, year-to-year, and even lifetime business. And it's just, I think one of the questions I ask a lot that startles people is never get in until you know how you're going to get out. And what's the exit strategy of this business? What's this business going to do for your life? And there's guys that rack up a lot of money. You and I both have friends that are, billionaires. I've got several clients in that category. Some of them are very successful. I've got a lot of guys that I've worked with through the years that, worth maybe 500, 600 million, and they're miserable. They're miserable people. They're miserable. You think with all that money, you'd find a way to be happy, but the money means nothing. They bought every car they can. They bought every dream house they can. They've gone through every trophy person they can do in their lives. They end up with a lot of money and absolutely miserable human beings because it never accomplished anything that they wanted it to because they had no idea what the hell they were trying to do with it. So you can be, you can run a small business, mom and pop, and make a decent amount of money and be tremendously happy, or you can have 500 million in the bank and be miserable because you don't understand what you're trying to get done. You don't understand what the reason is, the purpose behind the business.
Yeah. And that's exactly, and I know some of those guys too, right? And, I have a conflicting opinion when it comes to money. And, understanding, I think a lot of people will use money as the only scale of success. And I don't believe that. I believe that first things first, your health is health is wealth. Health is one of the pillars of wealth, is one thing that I believe in. I also don't believe that financial is your only way of success, right? Or wealth. So, when I have conversations with like extraordinarily wealthy people with money, but the rest of their life isn't wealthy. They don't sleep. They're out of shape. They're miserable. It's a bottomless pit of just money because I honestly feel that when you're not familiar with the purpose of why you're here on this earth and what you're doing, and then in contrast, applying it to the business, right? Yeah, you might be great at making money, but really, what the fuck are you doing? You're just making more money than it, and money's just exchanging hands and hands and hands. And I understand having a lot of money in the bank is cool, but it's not the end all be all. And I'm sure when you talk to business owners that it's pretty easy to see if they understand their purpose.
Every time you and I talk, you trigger things that rattle back through my head. We do it for each other. But while you were saying that, I was thinking I was working with a group of businesses, a chain in northern Jersey. I met this investor. He was not the primary, but he was the second guy in, put up the biggest amount of money. Guy was maybe 50 years old, looked older. And he rode from Jersey into the city. So he left every day at his house at 6 and usually got home at 6 or 6:30 at night. And he had not seen his kids, play a lot of sports. He was kind of, and Saturdays he'd occasionally go in. And I'm sitting there, everybody left. And so I went to dinner and he said, mind if I tag along? I'd like to talk to you more. So he and I had dinner together and we're sitting there having a glass of wine and, 10 o'clock at night, the guy's a wreck. I mean, he physically is a wreck. He's mentally a wreck. He's a stress case. And we were talking about the money and investing. And I said, well, what's this money? It just, everything you're telling me, the money works against your whole life. His marriage was stressed, probably wasn't going to make it. His kids were getting a little older, but they were kind of distant. And this guy's a classic case of everything you read about where he, on the surface, had everything. The status house, the family, the kids involved in all the sports. But I'm talking to this guy, the guy had nothing. Money exists for, and you've heard me say this too many times, but money has one purpose, it's freedom. It allows you to live life on your own terms. But when you destroy your life, you said something earlier, like it's like health. Well, you'd have to be laying on a battlefield, seeing enemy troops come to kill you, bleeding to death to understand that health is everything. But how many people do you see in their 40s that are 30, 40 pounds overweight that just they're destroying their life because you don't learn that lesson. There's always a trigger. To me, there is no change in life until you get that slap upside the head.
The aha moment, yeah.
Yeah, that physicality is you're sitting here and your doctor's told you 10 years in a row that you need to lose weight. And this year he says, look, you're 40 years old. If you don't lose weight, you're not going to see your daughter ever graduate from high school. You will die. Well, the guy joins the gym an hour after he leaves the doctor's office. There's got to be a trigger, a motivation. The guy I was talking to in the bar, the motivation was he's got to a certain age where he had all the money he would ever need the rest of his life. He could have quit that day and never worked again. But he was held hostage by the money. The purpose of money is why we make money, is to live life on our terms. And I tell guys this all the time, how do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live with? Put that in the middle of the floor and build a career around that. Your career should support how you want to live. you don't have lifestyle left over at the end of the month. You don't work a career that destroys you and then try to squeeze lifestyle in by running up to Vermont and snowboarding every other month. It doesn't get you there. The mistake that people make, and all the young entrepreneurs listen to this, is money becomes the driver, and money should feed your lifestyle. Making money is easy. Finding a lifestyle that allows you to live, to be creative, to grow, to change the world, that's the hard part. Anybody can make money. Money is not a hard concept.
It's
but
not.
It's the ability to live well, to live fully, to live with freedom, where nobody tells you you have to go to work tomorrow. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. You know what? I have enough money in the bank. I don't have to. I don't like this town. I want to move somewhere else. Well, you have the money in the bank to do that. You're with somebody that after 10 years, you go, I don't want to be with this person anymore. Money is freedom to go live life on your own terms and reinvent yourself again. Money is freedom, but most people are held hostage by the job, by the stress. Statistically, I believe it's something like, I want to say 65, 70% of the people in the country have less than $5,000 in their checking account. They're broke. They're absolutely broke. One check away from disaster. Yeah, one check away from disaster. And yet these people talk about, buying Ferraris and buying this dream house on the shore and all this. And they get up and go to work because they have to. And to me, that's the worst thing in the world. I have to go to work. I want to go to work. I want to go to work because it feeds my creativity. It feeds this. I make enough money to have a life. So start with the life you want and build around that, and build what you need to do to support who you want to be as a person. You can't be like that guy I met and be sitting there 50 years old and realize you just burnt down 20 years of your life you'll never get back. You just blew your marriage apart. You haven't seen your kids. You never saw your kids play sports. And he was really into the kids in sports, but he never saw the games. Occasional Friday night, he would leave the office, big sacrifice, at say 4 or 5 so he could catch a basketball game. But that was a real trauma for him, this guy. I mean, because he felt the need to be that guy, and that guy he burned his life down. So it's just, if you're going to build a life, man, you got to start with how you want to live and work backwards from that. And the day you lose the money is the day your life is over. It's just, you can make money, but lifestyle is everything.
Yeah, you said so many freaking things there that I want to comment on, but most importantly, I think it's very important to express that you and I agree when it comes to success. Okay. And I teach this in all sorts of different places, including social media, is you really have to look at if someone is successful. Okay. For instance, the gentleman that you had dinner with, I personally wouldn't consider successful. That's my opinion. And this is why. Yes, he has probably it sounds like a lot more money than I do, which is cool. However, it doesn't sound like he has his health. It doesn't sound like I'm making judgments, but I'm making judgments. It doesn't sound like he has a good relationship with his family. And I don't know how he is with his friends, but there are a few pillars to success and wealth, considering your health and your family. If you don't have a successful family life, if you're married and have kids, I don't consider you a successful man or woman. I consider you successful at business, but not well-rounded. And that's the lifestyle aspect of what you're talking about. And having the freedom to do whatever the hell you want is something that not only took me probably 6 or 7 years, and that was quick, 6 or 7 years to be able to do, but it's just something that you can't put a price tag on it. I don't really know if you could, and I've been offered, we have a mutual friend that offered me uber amounts of money to work for him and run 40 gyms. But I didn't want to do that because I would give up my lifestyle and give up my freedom and so on and so forth. And I wouldn't be happy. And that's exactly what we're talking about here is money does hold you hostage and it's not hard to make. And my personal opinion is, and guys that listen to me have heard me say this before. Money is the byproduct of what you do in this world. And if you're good at life, specifically good with humans, you'll make more money. And those are my opinions. And it seems to work well for me and everyone that I know. And I think that something that I do that I don't talk about very much is, let's back up. I'm a huge fan of Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie. They're some of my favorite authors. And Napoleon Hill is excellent when it comes to several things. The book that he's most known for is Think and Grow Rich, which wasn't his first book. It was, I might be mistaken, but it was like his 9th or 10th. And he teaches you not only how to make money, but the principles of the book, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Tom, is, learn how to attract money to you. And one of the ways of, or the primary way of doing that is understanding why you're on this earth. And something that he teaches that I utilize on a daily basis, as soon as I wake up in the morning and or just before I go to bed, is I tell myself, I've remembered it, my purpose. And I repeat it out loud while my head is still on the pillow as I wake up in the morning, before I even put my feet on the ground. And that alone really has helped me want to get up and get out of bed and fucking have a great day. Like, today's a Monday, Tom. Mondays are great. I love Mondays. I mean, I don't stop. Like, my lifestyle, I work, quote unquote, 7 days a week, but I love what I do. I like working with people. I like solving problems. But the point that I'm getting at is, if you're able to understand your purpose and why you're here and remind yourself of it, for me, every morning when I wake up, and 9 times out of 10 every night before I fall asleep, things really start firing on all cylinders. And it takes time to marinate and manifest everything. However, things start moving very fulfilling. And I don't know if you believe in those sorts of practices, but it's worked extraordinarily well for me.
Not too many years ago, I was invited from a friend to go to a graduate level entrepreneur class. And they were going to it was a Friday afternoon, they brought speakers in, and the guy said, come and talk to them. So everybody in there, mostly young males, everybody in their mid-20s, everybody had the next, at that that was less than 10 years ago. So the next, startup that's going to I'm going to, create this app and sell it for 50 billion and all this stuff. And
it can be done. I mean, it can be.
And one of the guys in there asked me, he said, it really the same kind of question you're going is this like, what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of business? And I'm sitting there and I've got about 50 of these guys in the room. I said, you're not going to like this answer. I said, none of you will. And I said, because you're right now, you're willing to trade. You're willing to trade a few years of your life because you think at some point I'll give up lifestyle now, so I'll have lifestyle later. And so that guy I talked about, like that investor or that financial guy, you wake up all day, you're 50 and you never paid off. So I'm telling these guys, I said, the purpose, I said, of all the questions I get late night in the bar, so all the questions I get, it comes down to the universal question, if anybody of any age really comes back to some version is, what is my purpose? And I tell them it's very simple. You're here to leave the world better than you found it. You're here to change lives. You're here to make things better. You're here to, to do this. And nobody wants to hear that, because it's like, okay, old man, you're just saying all this stuff out of the, some combination between Napoleon Hill and the Bible, somewhere in there. And, the guys with the gratitude list and all that. It's like, I don't want to be that guy, but you have to start with the expected outcome of your life. So I told these guys in this entrepreneur class, I said, whatever you do in here, your purpose has to be to make change. It has to be to leave. Your purpose is very simple. Everybody agonizes over your purpose. And I'm saying, you guys in this room are, men and women in this room are in their mid 20s. I said, statistically, most of you are going to live to be 90, and the females in here, statistically, in this time and age, could live to be 100. I said, you don't need to tell me what you're going to do the rest of your life. You don't need to tell me what career or job. And I'm going to tell you, your parents were wrong. Oh my God, your dad's an accountant, so you're an accountant. And a couple guys were laughing. Yeah, my dad's a banker, and that's why I'm doing the outdoor. He started his own company. I said, you're gonna live too long. You're gonna change. But one thing has to stay constant in your life. And it's got to be why are you here? What are you trying to get done in your life? What is your purpose? And there was a little bit of derision, and these guys were, not booing, but there was a couple of, just, you could tell that there was a lot of this closed up stuff and all this. And I said, I'll tell you what, where do you guys drink? And they were laughing. I said, where do you guys go for a beer afterwards? And they said, well, there's a pub right here, cornered by school. It's right down the street from classroom. We go there and hang out afterwards. So I said, good. Everybody shows up here. I'll be over there in an hour. I'll buy everybody here beer all afternoon. Come and hang out. Let me talk to you, meet you. So about 90% of them show up. And after about 3 rounds of beer, then they're here. And guess what they're asking?
What's my purpose?
It comes back to the same question is, so we talked about lifestyle. We talked about this. And we're just coming into a generation where that maybe makes more sense. But again, you get caught and you trade a day of your life for a year of your life, because I'm going to have lifestyle next year. I'm going to live in someplace I'm miserable for 2 years, because 2 years from now, I'm going to make enough money that I'll move to where I want to go. And I've got a bad relationship now, but I'll put up with it because I'm just going to get through this little surge of my business. And you end up waking up one day and you're 50 years old and you've done nothing, you've accomplished nothing, you have money in the bank, but you're sitting here alone and everything about you is broken down. You've broken everything in your life because you become held hostage by the very thing that was supposed to give you freedom. And so there's a certain amount of creativity in people. There's a certain amount of ingenuity, of genius in everybody. But we end up getting buried, by doing things that don't mean anything. We end up taking jobs because we think that's what we should do. And it's surely not what we want to do. So we waste so much of our lives chasing something that doesn't matter to us. We're chasing somebody else's dream. Many people, if they admit it, and 5 minutes before they go to sleep, if they think about it deeply, you realize that you're chasing your parents' goals, your significant other, that should, if we're going to make money, you need to be a lawyer because, that's what your dad was and all this. And the guy wants to be a gardener, he wants to be a botanist or something. He's got nothing related to this, but they end up on career tracks of the shoulds. So, because you're always going to change. Well, there's a point, and there's always that epiphany point. There's always that point where you get where it's too late. And the guy that I was talking to that guy that night, we ended up staying in touch for quite a while. And it's like, quit. And he couldn't. I mean, the guy probably had 20 million plus in the bank, which is enough for any human being. And I said, work on your health for a year. Just take a year off. And he says, I'm on the right track in this business. I want to be this guy. And I'm like, that costs you everything. So what, you're going to be the CEO of this financial company? What's that going to get you, dude? You're going to die doing it. It's got you nothing. And he couldn't let go of what he thought was there, even though it destroyed everything else in his life. So these young entrepreneurs, if you start with the fact that the business has to mean something in your life, it has to create more than just money. It really has to create the freedom for you to get up every day and choose how you want to live. And then, if you understand that, then you can find a job or a career that supports your lifestyle instead of taking a job and hoping you can squeeze lifestyle in later. In that case, it's just, you've got to figure out we talk about the why, and that's probably one of the most overused terms out there, but it's still one of the most powerful terms is why. Why do you want to do this? And it's like 20 guys in their 20s get married. I go, why? Well, well, I love her. Well, you don't. You're 25 years old. It just, if you're that crazy, just live together for 5 or 10 years and see if this is going to work. Because statistically, it's not. But they all of a sudden, then you get caught up in this, you get caught up in a house you can't afford, you get caught up in 2 kids, and you wake up at 35 years old and you've never had a life because you chose not to be a kid. You chose not to enjoy that time because you wanted to be the role model of something that wasn't even you in the first place. You're doing it because of social obligations, because of cultural pressure, because of societal pressure, because of your parents. And you just, instead of saying, look, I just want to live life on my terms. And the weird thing, Chris, of all of it is that people, it's almost, you have to give them permission. I give you permission to make your own decisions. I give you permission to say, I want to do this. It's okay to use the word I want to live here and do this. I want to take a year off and be a ski bum. I want to do this. It's okay. I give all of you formal permission to use the word I once in a while. It really sometimes has to be about you and your life. You can't carry the world until you can carry your own ass. And you have to start with getting healthy mentally, physically. You have to find work that really does excite you every day because you're going to be doing this a while. And it's okay to say I was wrong and completely change careers. It's okay to say wrong. I started
Absolutely.
this business, it didn't work. And you're going to burn down some businesses. We all fail. My first business was a total disaster. And it's just off you go. You learn, you grow, and you move on. But if you start with the why, why am I doing this? What is this going to do in my life? It's just you'll be better. Every decision you make in life has to start with that. What's the expected outcome? Where is this taking me in life?
You just said a lot of gold. There are 2 important things that I want to bring up. And the low-hanging fruit here is you've actually had that conversation with me where you're like, yeah, you could do it. Like, you could do whatever the fuck you want. Like, I'm opening the door for you. Walk through it. Do whatever you want. And it was with one of the most difficult decisions I've made in my business career. And that's what a good coach, a good mentor does for other people. They open the door for you to walk through. And sometimes even a guy like me who, my peers consider highly experienced, very successful, blah, 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 blah. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a second set of eyes. Everybody needs a mentor, in my opinion, anyways, regardless of if you're trying to build a business or not. But perspective from someone else who's been through it is vitally important. And guys, I want to put on display that, Tom is the guy that I go to for those types of questions. And the other thing, amongst other things, and I'm being very general here, but it's important to accent. But the really important thing that you said in that last statement, which I think we should discuss a little bit, is societal norms. Okay. And you're talking to a bunch of graduate level entrepreneurs. Now, for instance, in my grad school, right, in an MBA program, I was the lone entrepreneur, right? So I was like, fuck this shit. It has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. A lot of it anyways. But there was also some very important stuff, and I'm not going to badmouth anything. I just, as an entrepreneur in a very C-suite orientated, ladder climbing corporate program, my mind was elsewhere for many things. However, I've been given the opportunity to be a professor at both that school and another school as the head entrepreneurial professor for the program, for the entrepreneurial program. So I can see what you're saying, how it's especially in the formal education setting, when you're trying to teach people to open your minds past how society has told you to be. I mean, 18, Tom, you must know what you want to do. you are going to go to school for it. Then you're going to go into debt. And then you're going to have to get a job and pay back that schooling that taught you how to do this, because you now have a piece of paper that says you're formally trained. Okay. Then after you do that and you have this debt, you're going to meet someone in your 20s and you're going to get married. And then you're going to have kids. And then you're going to have a $500,000 home and a white picket fence. And you're just going to sit in that cycle of 9 to 5, rinse, repeat, no lifestyle, fit it in when you can. My purpose on this earth is to give my kids more, so on and so forth, because that's what the American society specifically, because I know you've traveled outside the country. I've lived outside the country. You may have lived outside the country. And culture is much different outside the country. So the point is, the American system, the American society will tell you, hey, you need to do this and that and this and that. And we all get caught up in it. So talking to a bunch of graduate students who are probably in their early 20s, mid 20s, trying to teach them, hey, focus, all right? What I'm teaching you right now is the goods. And I'm sure that you using your bar time definitely opened them up, because I like to use food and or drinks to break through to someone. And you kind of take them out of that formal education setting, which it sounds like you did, and brought them into an informal setting. And then sure enough, they're sitting there talking to you, which I respect. And I've had those types of conversations with you, so I understand. What I am really interested in is, do you think that maybe the societal norms may play a little bit to the closed-mindedness to, specifically in this case, kind of detour people from exploring their why or their purpose?
Yeah, if I would have taken that, those 50 students at that point and, why are you doing this? They come back with stories like, well, I went to school, a group of my friends, or my dad was an entrepreneur, and I just grew up. I was in this club in high school, and we all wanted to open businesses. And all of a sudden, they've got a reason, but there's really, you get down to it, is what is this going to do for your life? Why does this work for you? And most of it, they can't answer that question. A lot of people do things because they don't even understand why they're in that path. I'm walking down this path because it was a series of 100 different small decisions, and I end up on this path. And what you said a while ago, years ago, when you started down that, you had people to talk to. And I'm talking a generation ago, 2 generations ago. You could talk to your father about this. You could talk to people. There were role models and mentors easily accessible to this. But I've got one friend, and he's got this little gig going, and he's doing about $500,000 a year out of it. And his dad's a postman, makes about 50 grand a year. And I'm like, who do you talk to about your business? He just laughs. He goes, who would you talk to if you were me? He says, there's no one to talk to. He says, my old teachers that were mentors, they don't understand that, I'm sitting in my bedroom cranking down $500,000 doing online stuff, so I talked to my parents, and I made more money last month than he made a year. So it's easily in today's society to get isolated, because they're really, your whole support system that we took for granted 20 years ago is gone. So you end up talking to other people that kind of pull you down their path. So the societal norms have changed simply because we've ran out of people to talk to. There is no person to hold you accountable or pull you back from the brink or to question what you're doing. Now, if you've grown up in Connecticut, your parents are, VC guys that hang out on Wall Street, and, you've got a $100 million mansion in Greenwich. Well, your parents probably grew up, but that kid is just as likely to want to be a violin player or be an artist or go and do theater in the city than he is to be a financial guy. So sometimes we get caught up in our own personal path becomes that of someone else's, like our parents. So the mentorship, find somebody you trust and be willing to let go of that person if they break that trust. But you've got to find somebody to talk to that you just like, look, give me your best shot. I may or may not do it, but give me your best shot. Let's find it. And that's a really lost skill set anymore, because all the traditional teachers, parents are usually not prepared for how we live today and what we do today and how we have to function in the world today. And then you throw in 2020, and then you've got a whole new nightmare on that. But one thing one more point while I'm getting wound up on this, what you said, while I'm maybe triggering this
let's
too.
have it. Did I trigger you, Tom?
Yeah, this is it's something that we look at. You're going to get your ass beaten somewhere in business. We all do. And you're going to make a career choice where you just walk away. You're going to get fired from a job because you just weren't the right fit. You're the right person in the wrong job and they let you go and you take it. So personally, everybody loses. It's how you respond to that that either makes you a winner or loser. You don't win or lose here and adapt. You lose, and that defines if you're going to become a winner or a loser. So I'm a Tom Brady fan. I'm sure a lot of your folks on this show are sports. Tom Brady got destroyed last week, comes back this week, and he all of a sudden they're back together. It's like, how do you do that? How do you find that way to rebuild and bring your guys all along with you, and everybody's back? Well, you're going to get humbled in life. And I look at our current election. If our current election was a corporate setting, and there's a board of directors, 9 people, and they hire the CEO. Well, the board of directors, that represents the voting public in this country. And they hired a CEO for a 4-year contract. And 4 years into it, the board met, meaning the voters of this country, and they looked at the guy and said, we don't like the job you're doing. We're going to replace you, by a 5-4 vote. 4 of the guys loved him. And the guy stands up like every employee ever fired says, I was the best employee you ever had. You just don't understand how bad this company's going to hurt when I'm gone. And 4 of the boards going, this guy, we should have kept him. And 5 says, nope, orange guy's gone, the blue guy's in, and give him a 4-year contract. And he will be up for a job review at some point. So how you handle that loss, it's not winning or losing before that. It's when you lose, you have to define at that point becoming a winner and how you adapt to that loss and go on, or you become a loser and it takes you down a bad trail because you believe everybody else. Personal responsibility is probably, we could spend an hour just on that theme. Just a personal responsibility where you understand that who you are is every decision you made through last night. It's not your parents' fault, your spouse's fault, your boss's fault. Everything comes back to you.
All your responsibility.
You could have bosses that are bad. One of my friends, a young friend, I helped her get a job with a national chain, and she was just let go. She had a direct conflict with a person above her. There was a little territorial fight. She got let go. I said, you did not fail. You just got outplayed at that level. You need to reload and go again. This will determine if you win or lose by how you react to the loss. But ultimately, I still told her it's your responsibility. You didn't figure out the rules, didn't play the game, whatever. We could have fought back, but you know what? It happens. Move on. In that case, it's still my responsibility how I respond to that. So it's easy, especially when you work in a corporate culture, to pass blame to everybody around you instead of saying, all I can control is myself. I can control my own outcome. I can control my own output. I can control my own talent, meaning I can get education and things I need to be a better educated person in this field. I can control my personal environment. I can't control the outside force. Instead of having a conversation trying to outplay both sides, all I can do each day is to take care of who I am, how I respond, and how I react to what I need to be better at this job. There's nothing wrong with being a corporate track. Entrepreneurship's not for everybody. But the same expectation in corporate is, what's this job going to do for my life beyond money? And if I have to sacrifice my life and burn down on a train 12 hours a day going back and forth to the city to end up with money but no family, In this case, it's not worth it. But there's a lot to be said about being a CEO, being on that track and changing, running 60,000 employees. That's a noble way to make a living, but you're going to trade a lot of your life for that. And you have to understand going in that you're trading a lot of your life to accomplish those goals. So yeah, the responsibility, we could go on for hours on that. I get really wound up on that.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And you said something, and this will be the last thing that we really kind of talk about, but you said something that basically success, summed up, is moving from failure to failure, or moving from defeat to defeat, and you just have to move on. And I call it, this is what I call it, right? The entrepreneurial punch to the face, right? Like the big problem of that day. Like there's lots of other problems, but the big one, the big motherfucker. And that's not necessarily what we're talking about. The $20,000, air conditioning unit went out on the roof, or, your head employees just got into a car crash or something along those lines. We're talking about like the big, monstrous, life-changing, humbling, bring you down to earth, teach you lessons type, quote unquote, situations. I don't want to call them mistakes, situations that really are going to dictate you going one of two ways. You stay low with defeat, or you're like, you look up, all right, I got a long way to go, but let's get moving. And without that mindset of growth and purpose and pushing and day to day with the long-term vision, but the daily activity to get there, it's tough, because without that, right? Without that, the point is, if you don't have that vision, it's tough, because you're just going to stay basically defeated or in a failure. And something that I've learned in business is that the big responsibilities, the big decisions, or the big mistakes is really where you learn. It's really, really, really the most valuable lessons, at least for me. So that I wanted
to be part of a. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, please.
Oh, not say they have to be part of. I have to know when to fight. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that you've heard me say before, especially in our bigger workshops, is, one of the last things is 10 years down the road, I'm sitting with you in a bar and I look back and say, where have you been the last 10 years? What have you done? What have you accomplished? Did you create wealth and take care of your family? Did you live a good life? Did you change the world? What's it mean to be you? Well, without that expected outcome, I don't know when to fight today. So you said a couple of very important things there. One, like that air conditioner unit blows up. That's all you do in life. Every day you get up and fix new problems. It's how you fix the problems. If you solve problems better than anybody else and have people skills, as you mentioned early in this, then I'll be more successful than most. The best bosses in the world just are the best senior employees. The people that get to be CEOs are just great problem solvers. They learn how to solve problems. So every day you solve problems, every day you do this, but then there is a point where you have to fight. But if I don't know what I'm trying to do, I always take the path of least resistance, because I don't know what I'm not willing to get dirty to get over this rock to get to that goal, because I don't know what the goal is. So therefore, you see this a lot. You see a lot of guys, especially in the corporate world, in their mid-30s and 40s, that just are floaters. They're in jobs going nowhere. They never went back to school, even at the University of Phoenix, one class a month and got an MBA. They didn't do anything. You wake up, and because you don't know what you're chasing, you always take the path of least resistance. If you're willing to get sweaty, you're willing to get dirty, to get in that fight, you're only willing to do that if I know I got to knock this guy down to get to that door, and you're in my way, and I've got to fight. But if you don't, again, I'm going to say it one more time, it's so important. If you don't know what you're chasing, then you always take the path of least resistance. And so you just like, I don't want to fight. I'm just going to take this job. It's a good job. I like it over here. So you chase that comfort zone instead of willing to do this. So most people don't know how to fight or when to fight, therefore they don't fight. And therefore they get defeated early and easily because there's no winning or losing after the defeat, because they don't even know what winning looks like, because they have no idea what to compare it against. Now, you can blow your whole life by taking the path of least resistance. And if I challenge people like that group of 50, or a lot of my clients now, it's sometimes shutting a business is the hardest decision in your life, but it's the right decision, because I've got to get past this barrier to get to that door. But you have to understand what that door looks like. And if I don't know what's on the other side of that door, then I won't fight for anything. And you see that even in personal relationships. You have a relationship with somebody. What's the expected outcome of that relationship? And if that's strong, and you see a vision, you see a purpose with that purpose, you see a lifetime at least attempting to be together, you're willing to fight more now to keep the relationship. But if you don't know what this relationship even means in your own life, and how it benefits you, and how good you could be together, then you're willing to quit too soon. And then we internalize, we get dark, we get mean, we get pissy. And to me, that just means that you don't know externally what you're chasing. So you internalize it, you destroy your own life. Instead of understanding that this might be the right person, you're just self-destructing. So the path of least resistance, that's the thing that almost everybody listening to this show should be terrified of, because you do that when you don't know what you're doing. You always take that when you don't understand what you're trying to get done. That 10-year plan, it's so old. Think and Grow Rich. I can reach out and touch 2 copies of that I have right here on my shelf. I just bought the new expanded one with the leather jacket on it. It's restored to the original. I scooped it up on Amazon. I thought, this is so cool, man. They restored it. It's the big one. And that type of book helps you start to think about what you're trying to accomplish. And what he did well was it all was just money. It really is lifestyle. But if I've got a plan on how I want to live, then I'm going to get dirty now. I'm going to fight now, because I know what I'm trying to get done. If not, path of least resistance. And I end up 20 years later, I might have made a little money, but I burnt down everything else important in your life.
Yep.
It's crazy. So yeah, there's truth in all the old adages. That stuff, nobody ever laid on their deathbed wishing they'd worked more. Those things are said generation after generation, because there's truth in those. That's, nobody dies. There's no COVID victim ever. His last message on his phone coming from the isolation chamber to his wife is, "My God, I wish I would have just worked 8 more hours a week, honey, and we would have had it made." That's, yeah,
Sure.
there is truth in all those old adages, but we forget that guy could be us. We forget how to live. We forget why we live, and we forget, most importantly, what we're trying to get done in our own lives. And we don't understand because we don't ask those questions of ourselves.
Yeah, the tough questions, right? The tough questions, on the other side of them is the growth and the answers that people are looking for. And what you say and I say are very similar. I just say it a little tiny differently. And I say there's 2 roads. The easy street with no bumps, that's where everybody is. The road with all the bumps and it's not easy to get through is the work that you're talking about, right? Going 2 different directions. I always pick, normal average is just not for me, as I'm sure you know. And I recommend that, if people are looking for the answers that they truly know they want to understand, then you got to take the road that's less traveled, and you have to have those uncomfortable conversations and situations to learn from. So
I have that poem on my phone. I have it on every device I've ever carried around for 10 years. Robert Frost wrote, "The road less traveled, you get down to, I took the path and it made all the difference. I took the path least traveled, it made all the difference."
Yeah.
And that's, people, you have to know why you're on that path, and what you want, what that path is, what the experience of your life. That's the big word. And again, we could rant on I know we're on time on this, but
Sure.
you can rant on forever about the experience of your own life. The experience of the day by day, by just grasping about how powerful life could be today, and what you have to find with your own life. and the fact that there's time is not your friend. That's the time is always works against you, and you have to understand that we always think that if I'm 30, I'm going to live for 40, 50 more years, and that's not necessarily true. And so the ability to live within the day, the ability to seek the lifestyle and a high quality of life today, and then string that together as many days as I can, that's what I'm trying to really do. And that's what I'm really trying to teach. But maybe we'll save that for another hour.
Yeah, maybe we'll do part two. And honestly, Tom, I mean, that was incredible information. I know you get compliments like that often. However, I need to really reinforce that was incredible information, and sharing your perspective on these topics are just gold. So I really want to make sure everyone can find you if they're looking for you. Or are you Tom, are you on social media? Like, do you do that shit?
I was on social media for 11 years, had a nice 100,000 following going on Facebook and Instagram, things like that. And about 60 days ago, maybe 90 days ago, I just pulled out of everything. It was so toxic. The environment has been so toxic this summer that I just didn't want to play.
I respect that. I respect that big time.
I'll get back into that at some point, but it's no matter what I was posting, there would be by the 10th comment, it would be, I either hate this guy or hate this guy, or I'm the problem with society because I said, well, guys, you need to think. The last post I wrote that just kind of drove people crazy, I said, you're burning down your own brand by taking sides on social media. So if you're a business owner and your political beliefs are so not just rampant, but so almost nasty, vile, that you're just ranting and ranting and ranting. And, if you don't believe in this, you're an idiot. And, it's like, I think the virus is a hoax. One of my clients, I've known her for 25 years. And I messaged her and I said, you can't say stuff like this. You're burning up your personal brand. It's taking 25 years in that community to build your brand. And she said, I have a right to say whatever I want to say. And I just clicked her. 25 years as a client. And I just clicked her off and just unfollowed her because her posts were so toxic. And yes, she has a right to say them, but I have a right as a client not to support your business. And, the social media has been so toxic that this is a good time for me to sit back, rethink my brand, rethink about what I want to do, if I want to go forward, and how much I really want to continue in this. And 3-month just stepping off social media is good for me. I'll be back and doing things like, I have other books I want to write. I have other projects I'm working on. And, there's different paths I still need to follow. And and it may not necessarily be as a business consultant. There's always tomorrow, but tomorrow to me is something that as of today I own. And I'll figure out that path. But yeah, no, right now the best thing, if anybody's needs to talk to me, they can email you and just reach out to me and we'll talk.
Maybe a website? Is there a website they can find, or
no? Just have them email you, man. I'm not selling anything today. I'm just talking to people and maybe sharing some stuff from 40 years of helping people. I have no agenda. I'm not really looking for a whole bunch of new clients right now. If somebody's got some major issues and wants to chat, then they can reach out to you and I'll put you in touch with my assistant and I'll help you if I can.
I respect that big time. And, thank you for accentuating exactly what I've been saying about social media for, I don't know, about 9 months. There was a period of time, I didn't delete my social medias, but there was a period of time where I just, nope. No content other than in this podcast. I was not scrolling. And I also speak upon auditing your social medias and your circle, your inner circle, like auditing it consistently. The amount of people I've unfriended and unfollowed over the past 9 months, not for only political stuff, but mostly toxicity, is probably by the thousands at this point. So I could respect that. Yeah, and before we go, Tom, I usually leave the audience with some final words, short, brief, maybe a couple sentences. And, I would have told you this before, but I know you like to be on the whim here with things. So do you have any closing words for everyone that you'd want to leave them with, some advice?
Yeah, life is very simple. It's don't give up your freedom. Live within the freedom to control your own future. Never be held hostage by a relationship, a paycheck, a town, parents. Create your own life, and you exist for one purpose, and you're here to change lives. Your purpose is simple. People agonize over that. There's hundreds and thousands of books written on purpose. Purpose is very simple. You're here to change lives. You're here to leave the world better than you found it. You're here to give a hand up to people. You're here to be that person. You find a way that allows you to do that. You're going to make a lot of money, but there's also, you're here to kind of, you have to make a difference, and you have to change the world around you. Even if it's one small hand at a time. You just don't want to be the guy that when he's gone, 2 days later, nobody remembers your name because you haven't changed anything. That's an old thing too, but I think, people, you die twice. You die the day you die, and then you die the last day your name is set on earth. That's your second death. And in this case, you want to create a life where when you're gone, people think, yeah, he made a difference. He changed things. He left it better. He cared. That's my mission. That's why I still work at this age, and why I'm still doing it, because I still care. I've got a lot of people that I try to help, that I still hang with, that I still like, okay, I'm not quite done yet. You're not quite where you need to be, so I'm here, and stuff like that. If there was one thing written when I'm gone, it's that. I was like, man, the guy was a crazy guy to party with late at night, but you know what? The guy really cared. So yeah. you really tried to make a difference. So that's all I care about. And for people listening, find that type of thing where, what do you care about? What is important to you that will carry you, in my case, for 5 decades. And that was my purpose then, and it's been my purpose my entire life. And I've just found vehicles to support my life to make sure that I can ski when I want and live where I want and do what I want. And I found a way to make money, but I've never given up my freedom to anybody, and I refuse to do that even at this old age.
Don't first things first, that was powerful. Second thing is, don't kid us. You're not a day over 48, Tom.
I've got scars from ski rips that are 20 years old.
Oh shit.
No, Matt, there's a few miles there. So anyway, well, thanks, my friend. Good. And
yeah.
Maybe a part 2 for this. We never know.
Yeah, let's do a part 2. Maybe we could do like an early 2021 or something along those lines. But I think I speak for everyone. Thank you so much for coming, Tom. I know I'm personally looking forward to round 2. And, guys, also thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, for showing up. Thank you for all the shares, sending this show and my mission to people to help them. I appreciate you, Tom. I'm sure Tom appreciates you. So that being said, I will leave in the show notes how to get a hold of me. And I hope everyone is happy. I hope everyone is healthy. I hope everyone is wealthy. I hope everyone is prosperous. And we'll catch you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom.